everyone, my name is Amber. Welcome back to my channel, Amber Reads Romance. Today I decided I wanted to do a vlog because I was really excited. I got the ARC for Kay Webster's newest release in her Wild series, and that is the Unruly. It hasn't come out yet. I'm reading the ARC, so I'm probably going to post this vlog a little bit later, so because it will have spoilers in it like I usually do. But I did do a vlog for the Wild and the Free. And then I also did a vlog for the Untamed. And so this is the second generation part of the story of the characters from the Wild. So it's their kids' romance, which is kind of weird to say because it's an MMF and it's their siblings. So it is taboo. This is a taboo vlog again. But I thought it would be fun. I was really excited that I actually got the ARC for this one because the last book, the Untamed, ended in one of the craziest like cliffhangers that left me on the edge of my seat, and I was freaking out over it. So luckily we didn't have to wait too long for the next release. So I am about 30% through the Unruly, and things pick up right where they left off in the last book. Now, this vlog is going to have a lot of spoilers in it. So if you haven't read that book, then I wouldn't watch this. I am going to try to remember to link down my Wild and Free vlog and my Untamed vlog for you if you want to watch those. But so basically, at the end of the last book, we are in dire situations here. I mean, the first 30% of this book it's just hard to read. It's very dire situation. There's so many triggers in this book. So just be aware of that. Sorry if you can hear my cat going crazy in the background. There he is. He's always got to get involved when I'm filming. But anyways, back to this book. So, at the end of the book, these strangers that kind of the family let stay on their land and kind of helped out, they have totally betrayed them. They're like this cult, weird freak like, who knows what the hell's going on with them. They end up burning down the main house, attacking the father, Reed. He was so badly beaten, and they were like dragging him, which got me really emotional. They were like had a noose around him and were like dragging him behind their truck. And so it's bad. The mother was like bloody and basically had to like fend off like attackers from stealing her child, because this group of people will like kill off weak people in their group and then basically like kidnap and take other people's kids or women to be like new wives or whatever. And so they're a really messed up group where they like literally killed multiple people in their group and just left them there. They set the house like on fire, and they ended up taking Reagan. Ronan was like knocked out because he tried to fight them. And then Wild's like friend's sister happened to be there, and so she got taken. And then they have a couple of the younger kids. So they end up driving off in Wild's truck, and they like we're going to drag the father. Luckily, Reagan had her knife like strapped onto her clothes where they didn't know. And she was going to fight back. But when she sees her father being dragged behind the truck, she knows she has to use it to cut him free. So she manages to fight them off and cut her dad free. So he's left behind, and hopefully he'll be okay. And so you have Ryder stuck back at home dealing with the aftermath. They're trying to like help his dad get better, but his dad's beaten to bloody pulp, to completely unconscious for days. So it's just so horrible to see Reed like that, because I just love Reed so much. These are the parents from the Wild. And so it was just very emotional. And then you have Reagan and Ronan, and their siblings trying to survive with this group, and they kind of take the truck as far as they can, and then they're off hiking, and they basically kind of tell my cat's up in the tree. They basically are kind of learning that the way of the land of what this group is like, and that Reagan and the other girl are going to have to be like wives and do whatever their men want. Meanwhile, we have Ronan, who he's gay and he had feelings for his brother Ryder, but he also kind of had a flirtation going on with this one guy Logan out of this group. This guy Logan is like a sadist, like he's horrible, and he's basically gonna teach like Ronan how to do what they want, and he's kind of beating him down and keeping him with his wife, and so that he can marry one of the daughters. So they're in a bad spot, and I mean, and it's like, it's very hard to read. Check your triggers when reading this, because like the guy that's with Ronan, Logan, he like literally like rapes his wife every day. You find out that she was the one in the previous book that tried to warn them. She tried to even like shoot at like people and stop them. She tried to warn them. She was the one that was raped in the last book. And she was raped by her own people, and they tried to pretend like it was some other people that attacked them, but it was them. And so her and Ronan are getting closer, and she's kind of like telling him what happened to her, where she was camping with her boyfriend and they found her. They killed her boyfriend and had him like slowly bleeding out while he had to watch her get raped every day. So it's freaking intense. There is no like taboo, fun little feelings in the beginning of this book. I think I just got bit by an ant. Okay, so anyways. So there is no like taboo, fun little feelings in this book that you kind of get with The Wild and Free. This is like intense, suspenseful. Like I was actually reading it at work today and I was getting kind of an emotional because, you know, it's just hard to read what was happening to these people and to see Reed be so like jacked up. And it's just bad. And so now we have Ryder, Wild, and the oldest brother, Rowdy. They're going to go off and look for them, and they're trying to hunt them down, but they're days behind them, and so they have to try and track them down. So they're trying to get to them, and then the last scene that I read basically was like they decided who gets to be the husbands to these girls. And so Reagan gets handed off to CJ, who she kind of had a flirtation with, but she fucking hates now. And then the other girl gets given to like this older, gross guy. And Ronan is like freaking out trying to stop it. And he gets the shit beat out of him by Logan. And basically what happens is they get tied up and left in the tent so they can all go party. And Reagan does not want to lose her virginity by one of these assholes and be raped by them for her first time. So she basically tells Ronan she wants him to have sex with her so it won't be like he can have her first. And even though they know that's like fucked up, like, and Ronan's like, I only like guys, he does it. And so, and he actually kind of enjoys himself, and they end up having sex real quick. And then she has to sneak back off to the tent because they'll get killed for being together. And it's just, I mean, it's not a fun scene because this is just so dire. Like, it's so bad. It's so intense. These people are fucking psychos. And I want them to die. So, and then we finally found out about Rowdy because Rowdy had lived with Atticus and Wild and them and to get away from being in the wilderness. And he came back like changed, and he kind of finally tells his story about what happened to him. And so that was like a really sad story. We find out he was kind of sexual with a guy, and then that guy kind of got like, which was Atticus's, I think, nephew or something. I can't remember. And he like gets him hooked on heroin and kind of sexually abuses him. And so he almost ODs from the heroin. And so he ends up going back home. So this book is just heavy. It's heavy. And so if you're in for like the tabooness, I mean, you're going to get it with the siblings, but it's a lot darker than the last one even. And so just be prepared. So I'm still enjoying it. Like, I love Webster. I love dark romance. And so this is some heavy subject matter. Just be prepared. And we'll see how it goes, because so far Ronan and Reagan have gotten it on I wonder when Ryder is going to catch up to them and they'll all be reunited, hopefully. I hope soon, because this is really depressing. All right, so I will check in with you guys probably like once I get 50% through the book. Again, I've already talked a super long time, and we'll see how it goes. Hey guys, so it's late. I am about halfway through the Unruly, and I'm really enjoying it, although it is very dark and very depressing, and you need to check your triggers before reading this book, because the last book was dark, had dark elements, but it was like more of a lead up to this one, and this one is just like full force. It's dark. But I'm still enjoying it. Webster really hooks you in. But a lot has happened within this last like 20% that I've read so far. You have Ryder and Wild and Rowdy, and they are trying to track this group and save their siblings. And so they're like constantly on the move and setting up camp and just stressing out. Ryder is just so stressed out. He loves his sister so much, a little too much. Same thing with Ronan, and he just wants his siblings back. And so it's this big fight to try and catch up with this group. And this group is seriously effed up. So, I mean, after you have Reagan giving her virginity to Ronan in a really quick, bestie kind of way, she ends up kind of like making CJ feel bad. I think it's CJ. I can't remember his name, but her husband that she's assigned, she like kind of just talks down to him and degrades him, where he like doesn't even want to have sex with her that night, and he's just like doesn't know how to deal with her. And so she just totally kind of gets it, so she's able to put it off where he doesn't have sex with her. And I think Jace is with her sister Des, who is also blind but like younger than her, so I don't know if they've done anything sexually, but she was kind of off with him. And so Reagan is trying to get away. She's trying to find a plan of how can we escape. You've got multiple siblings spread out throughout the camp, where it's like, how am I going to escape? But like get my younger siblings, get Ronan, get, Sadie, their friend. It's like kind of an impossible task. It's hard enough to run away on your own, but to like try and get all your siblings is really hard. And she keeps having these run-ins with this girl, Maya. She's like this psycho bitch. And she like, has it out for Reagan. And so Reagan basically attacks her, punches her, like almost breaks her nose and stuff. And Maya's like, you better watch yourself when you sleep. And sure enough, she attacks like Reagan and cuts off like her whole ponytail in the middle of the night and cuts off all her hair. And so, like, you have all this stuff kind of going on. But I just want to say that you really need to check your triggers again, because there is sexual assault page in this book, because Ronan gets raped by Logan one night, where I think Logan had, like, beat up his wife pretty badly, which Ronan and Logan's wife are really bonding. They're kind of trauma bonding together, having to be with Logan because he's such a fucking pig. He's sick, and he ends up like where the wife is completely beaten and out of it, and he ends up just raping Ronan in the middle of the night. And it's really hard to read. It's on page. It's violent, and so just know that. I mean, this book is dark. So they're going through all this kind of stuff. And then what ends up happening is the woman that was pregnant, she was pregnant in the last book, and that's why they let them stay on their homestead, because they were being nice and they wanted to make sure she was okay, because supposedly she was having Braxton Hicks contractions or something. Well, she starts going into labor, so all of a sudden, like, the younger kids, she basically took in and was saying, "You need to call me mommy," which Reagan was infuriated about, like, don't call her mom. But the little kids were crying because she's going into labor in the tent. And so they get to come in the tent with Reagan. And so she asks for Sadie's help with them. And so they're alone with her husband. And she had been given this like bone from Ronan as like a little weapon. And it was like kind of shaved and pointed. And she basically was like, this is our opportunity. And she stabs the husband in the eye, beats him over the head, like with the lantern, and they escape. They go to escape. Maya tries to stop them, and like Sadie, who I didn't see this coming, totally tackles her like badly, where like her head hit the tree in a bad angle. She freaking dies, and they're like on their way out. But they had to escape, basically leaving Ronan behind because they were spread out in different spots at the campsite. So Ronan is kind of left behind, and so is Des. So they managed to get away, and they end up catching, fleeing and running into Ryder and Wild in them. And so Ryder is just so happy, like, to see her, to hold her. She was carrying, and it was pouring rain through this escape, and the youngest one, she was like holding, and he was like shaking, so they had to like get in the tent and get naked to share body warmth. But they have the little kid in between them, so it wasn't like bad or anything creepy like that. But later the kid's out of the tent with them, and they're alone naked, and they start getting frisky. And she's like begging him to have sex with her, and he wants to. I mean, there's some finger action, but he stops because he's so scared that his dad would like kill him or send him away, and he doesn't want to be sent away from his siblings. Like, he loves them so much. And she had to like kind of confess that her and Ronan had sex. So he's kind of jealous and feeling left out, but she's like, you don't know what we were going through, and it was just so he would be my first, and I wouldn't be raped by, from somebody for my first. So all this is going on. After, like, at that same night when they were trying to escape, Ronan and them also try to escape, but they get caught. So Ronan's trying to get, Logan's wife to flee with him to get Rez, but Jace catches up with them, and then Logan and them. And so they all get caught, and they're still there. Ronan and the wife end up getting their asses beat. Ronan gets raped again. It's just bad. So they're stuck there, and then Ryder basically and Rowdy go back to save them, and they send Reagan and the little ones off with Wild to head back home. And so they sneak in because shit even goes further south with this group. Like, you think that it gets dark, it gets darker again, because the mother, the woman that was pregnant, died in childbirth. They had to do a C-section. Of course, they don't know what the fuck they're doing, and they end up like killing the baby in the middle of it. And so he's like disposing of these bodies, and he had like killed his baby, and he doesn't even care. The leader of this group is a total psychopath. Then later, like, the guy that she stabbed in the eye is like really doing badly. And so the mother was like, we need to get him to the hospital. We need to separate. And this happened to be his brother's wife. And he literally like looks at his brother like, say something, put your woman in check. And he doesn't. So he freaking kills them all. It's crazy. Like, he kills them all. Logan kills the mom, like, breaks her neck. Like, these people are psycho. So they go off to go hunt down the missing kids, and now the camp's kind of mostly empty, so Ryder and Rowdy are able to sneak in and save the other ones. So now they're all out. Hopefully they're going to be able to keep away from this group that's hunting them down, but I mean, I'm only 50% through, and it has been dark. But I'm sucked in. I'm absolutely loving it. I don't know. It's crazy. This is like a much darker, grittier, like survival, like out in the wilderness type of thing. I do love the Alaskan like wilderness books for some reason, of like surviving out in those kind of elements, and you know, these people that have to rough it. I find it really interesting. So but anyways, I've talked too long about this already. It was super sexy when Ryder and Reagan were about to be together, but they didn't have sex. So maybe when they all get back home, they'll have like a good reunion. I know it's weird that I'm like rooting for these three to like get it on. I don't know. It's what Kay Webster does. I don't know how she gets away with it, how she could pull these kind of books off, but she does it. So I'm going to go back to reading. I don't know if I'll finish the book tonight because it's late already, but I will check in with you in a little bit, and let's see how, if we get any more, maybe a reunion or a menage going on. I don't know. We'll see. All right. Thanks. I'll see you in a bit. Hey everyone, I am doing my final check-in on the Unruly, and I did end up staying up late last night and finishing it. So I really loved this book. The first half, maybe 60%, even 60%, is like super dark, and you know, everything that they went through being kidnapped by these people. And then the struggle they had with like even just Ryder trying to get them back. I mean, once they all get home, then it's kind of like the aftermath of everything they went through. So, especially for Ronan, because he was so brutally raped by Logan, he has a lot of PTSD. He had, you know, he considered himself gay, but now being raped so brutally, like, he didn't think that he could ever like have a guy penetrate him or have sex like that with him. And he starts to kind of like cut himself off from his family, and he's just really struggling. And so he's very cut off, he's very angry, and he's having a hard time. So that's really hard to see, but it is very realistic of like somebody that's gone through a sexual assault and is suffering from PTSD. They don't know if Logan's actually dead, because they did get attacked by Logan and his father like on their way home, and he ended up shooting Logan, but he kind of like got away. So they assumed he kind of like bled out, but he just has this constant fear that Logan will show up one day. So he has major PTSD. And then Ryder, you know, wants to be with Reagan, but he keeps stopping it because they're brother and sister. And she's just like frustrated. She just wants to be with him. But she also wants to be with Ronan. And then she kind of like tries to help Ronan get through his trauma by letting him have sex with her and have him be in control and everything. So they end up having sex, and then Ryder catches them, and he just feels betrayed and upset and kind of jealous. And this is kind of like an ongoing thing where like the two will hook up, then the other two will hook up, and so it's kind of awkward that way. But after that, like he kind of like avoids them both, and they're not in a really good place. So eventually, like he goes to like stay with Rowdy in his cabin instead, to like put distance between them. So the last half of this book is them all trying to like struggle with their feelings and how to get through this. And then eventually, you know, he does kind of go to Ronan and wants him to tell him the truth about what happened to him. And then he basically lets things happen between him and Ronan, but he tells Ronan this totally shuts down and gets freaked out at the thought of having sex, you know, having a guy up his ass basically, because he was so brutally assaulted. So Ryder basically tells him, you can have sex with me then, like you can give it to me. And so they end up doing that and kind of making up and getting at a better place. At the same time, they've kind of pushed Reagan away, so she's like very upset, and she sees that they've made up. And then she basically finds out that she's pregnant. So she's pregnant with Ronan's baby, and she decides to go tell Ronan, and then they kind of work through things together, and he's very happy, but like scared about their parents finding out, but he's excited to be a father. And then so they kind of tell Ryder together, and they kind of come together, and they finally all have this like sex together where like Ryder's having sex with her and Ronan's having sex with Ryder at the same time. It's super spicy. It's very sexy. K. Webster brings a spice at the end of this book, and it's just crazy because like you're really rooting for these siblings to be together, which is pretty crazy and taboo, but that's what this series is. So I really loved it. They end up kind of coming together and want to be together, and then they end up getting caught by their mom, who like flips out. And so she tells the dad, and they kind of all come together to figure this out. Her main thing is like when she finds out that Reagan is pregnant, that the baby could have birth defects, they basically throw in the face that like they were father and daughter. And then they kind of break the news that like Reed wasn't her real daughter, she was adopted. And then in the middle of this, all this kind of revelations of like what's happening, Logan does show up and try to like sexually assault Ronan again. But Daddy Reed gets in there and brutally freaking kills this guy, like with an axe, cuts the arms off, goes freaking crazy on him. And I was so happy to see that. And so it was great to see Reed, you know, healthy again. He had to do a lot of healing after being brutally beaten, almost killed, and dragged behind the truck. And I just love him so much. So they basically have a meeting and they come to discussion, and Reagan's like adamant, like, I'm not aborting my baby. I'm keeping this baby. And they kind of come to an agreement that they'll have their own cabin kind of away from them, so it's not in the younger kid's face, because they want to raise this baby and be together all together. So that's kind of how it ends, is them giving birth to the baby. Everything's good, healthy with the baby, and they're kind of living in their own little cabin, and it's just very, very sweet. So that kind of concludes their story, but K. Webster kind of had this note at the end about other options, hopefully to get a book for Rowdy, because the other sister that was blind, we think she got raped by the other guy, because she basically is like not spoken since they escaped, and Rowdy's been kind of there for her where she was staying at his place. So I'm kind of thinking it's going to be between them, but we'll see. And then she said she might do something with Wild, and all of that. So I really loved it. I am giving this 5 stars. I just have to say, as I've said a million times in this video, check your triggers, because this has a lot of dark content in it, sexual assault on page, all of that. So just be very careful when you're reading this, because this was way darker than the Untamed. It just was. But I absolutely loved it. It was such a great read. I love K. Webster. I continue to love K. Webster. And if you can handle the taboo, if you can handle the dark romance, I would definitely recommend this. All right, thank you so much for watching this video. I know I probably talked too long, and it's only one book. But if you can, please remember to like and subscribe. And then I will see you guys on the next one.